teacher or an engineer. I could be your mother. Ooh, I can be your sister. I can be a nurse or a judge in the court. I could be a leader, ruling over a nation, all over the world. I am a woman. I'm a strong woman. Do this woman. I'm intelligent and wise. A beautiful woman. This woman. I am a woman. This woman. I'm a strong woman. Do this woman. Like David said, today's woman. The spirit of women is calling, and the voice of unity must answer. Today's woman. Today's woman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's Saturday, the 9th of May, the night before, the day before Mother's Day. I would like to stop for a second and acknowledge all the mothers out there, to say thank you. Thank you for the mere fact that you agreed to bring a life into this world. Thank you even more if you made all the sacrifices that is required to nurture, protect, ship that child. Okay, I'd like to say thank you. And then I wrote a short note today. Let me see if I can still find it. I'll write later tomorrow. And then to you, those of you who chose to take a child. So here's what I wrote. And I had a post from 4 years ago. And it just popped up with a woman with cesarean section on her, right on top of her baby on the private part. I say, imagine the miracle itself. To all those who carry a child in their womb, you are a living miracle. Prove that life still chooses hope in a weird word. And to those who choose to carry a child in their heart, through sacrifice, compassion, guidance, unconditional care, you embody the purest form of love this earth can know. Motherhood is not only biology, it is protection, it is patience, it is nurture, and the quiet courage of choosing another soul before yourself. A society that fails to appreciate and protect its mother slowly forget how to protect its own future. Today we honored every woman whose love has become a shelter, whose hands have carried generations, and whose strength often goes unseen. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Now, I will be shut today. One of my brothers in the community passed, and today is the funeral. I went to the funeral. I don't like to go to graveside, so I didn't go. So I'm gonna talk to you all briefly, and then I'm gonna go. Okay. There are a few things on my mind I would like to talk about. The first thing that I would like to talk about is, let me start by saying, hey, Catherine, let me start by saying to all of you, to our graduates, okay, to all of our graduates, I want to tell you, as a Liberian, as a community organizer, as a former president of the Liberian Association of Metropolitan Atlanta, as a leader, there's never a former leader, as a leader in our community, okay, all of the Liberian community, the American community, I want to say to you, I am super proud of you, of your journey, your granny nights, staying up late. I can relate. I can relate. But for all of you who have chosen the high road to stay up late, to put in the time to acquire knowledge, for knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. But that knowledge without character, okay, is nothing. It can only be a sea of destruction. Happy Mother's Day, Kathleen. Okay, so let me say to you. 2 days ago, I had my niece who were born during the war graduation. There go Peter. Okay, I had my niece who were born during the war graduation, and she was, what's going on here? Let me see. She got her doctorate in nursing. A young lady, a very young lady. And welcome, Peter, and then I'll let you come in officially. I I I I have to think back to my own life and the countless of lives in Liberia. And I started thinking, what would her life be if she had stayed in Liberia? Somebody would say there are other Liberian people that are thriving. How many Liberians who come from little means that in Liberia that are thriving without somebody doing quick pro quo for them? How? That you can go to school straight and in 8 years and get to where you want to get to. That the school are not closing and opening, closing, or not enough teachers. That she did not have to go beg for somebody to give her scholarship. She got where she got based on how much time she was willing to put in of performance. And this child, not to tell her business, during the corona, she made mad money. She had traveled the world. She has seen the world. And I'm seeing a lot of Liberian young people coming up, just graduating. What it speaks to me is we in our own country have been sabotaged, not given the opportunity, the place to stand. It does not matter what background you come from. It does not matter if you came from Cowlicking. It does not matter if you came from Duo. It does not matter if you came from Sony Wayne, that you should be given the opportunity. And that's why we advocate. But I want to say to all of the graduates, and there are a lot of graduates coming out, all these Liberian young women, men, like doctorate, master, this, in every field. But let's start because I have this video I want to play from George family about a year ago that he said, this generation of Liberians are the most educated, every few. You will find Liberians in it. There's no need for us to input anybody. There's no need for us to prioritize anybody. If we truly love our nation, we will do that. But I'm going to start here saying, Peter is here. Liberia as she is supposed to be. Liberia as she is. This is from Dr. Blading, okay? A failed state, and we will define to you what a failed state is, okay? And I will turn over to Peter, but my heart hurt for the nation. A nation that naked its mothers in the streets. A nation that sees girl. I saw another one the other day where they say they paid the girl to have sex with her, and she changed her mind. And these boys surrounded her and said they must have sex with her. In fact, have party with her. It's on Facebook. I didn't hear the police director speak to it. Then we saw what happened at the red light. We saw what happened at the red light 2024 when Bwaka had just taken over. Okay, late January, where a woman was molested in broad daylight and recorded. They took pepper. They shove it inside her vagina. I the one who say to vagina is the woman anatomy, the female part, okay, that carry human being, all right, and shove it inside as they recorded it, and nothing happened. That lady is in Ghana, afraid to come back to her own country. Then I heard a Liberian lawmaker in Nigeria, my own sister, Maima Briggs, try to question her people protection in Ghana. It's like you call your children dogs. You beat them the animals, and somebody else beat them, and you're asking questions. I'm not saying it's justifiable, but you have no right to speak. The people who left from Ghana and came to Liberia, you put them on cuts in zinc shock. Most of them, in fact, you declare them is infested or diseases infested. You said it real life, but I'm going to stop here, Peter. Welcome. Okay. I wanted to come live today because last week I didn't come and we didn't come. So we're here, Peter. I'm gonna let you do most of the talking today. But I will try to come. I know tomorrow that Mother's Day. I'll try to come on all Monday morning. But thank you for joining me, Peter. Let's hear from you and speak to the audience.
Yeah. Thank you for having this conversation again. Thank you for your consistency in
You too.
addressing what ails our country. So much has gone on the last couple of weeks, the last few days that we just need to have a conversation about real things
Mm-hmm.
has happened. Um, let's start with our country. You talk about failed state. We can start there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as you were saying that, I'm writing something down. So we've celebrated a budget a few months ago,
Yep.
right? And the budget supposedly had gone to 1.2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, and before I even go into details of what I want to talk about, here's what I want to remind people of. Whatever a man spends his money on is what his priorities are.
The priorities are
Okay.
where your heart is.
And
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm.
and when you look at other nations that came out of civil war, because we're quick to make excuses that, well, we were just in a war, and there are other nations. We could work our way backwards from Rwanda, okay, Paraguay, Singapore, all these people that I'm naming, Botswana. These people came out of civil unrest. They came out of instabilities. For as long as we continue to elect excuse makers and non-accountable people, we are going to continue to struggle as a nation. And when I say we struggle as a nation, I'm talking about real life people, children, mothers, anyone one of us who have ever been in an emergency or crisis situation where you needed a hospital. Okay. Imagine if that emergency wasn't there, if people couldn't, that care wasn't there. Well, that's a reality for most of our people back home right now with healthcare delivery. Okay. When you look at the budget, education, let's start there. 10% of the budget, only 10%, is spent on education. Let me go down a list of things that just so I remember that I don't forget.
And Peter, let
When
me just to add that 10%, that 10% is literally 90% of that 10% is spent on, I'm sorry, it's spent on paying people, not for the
Yeah.
program, not resources to impact their lives. Yes.
Well, let me push that even further. I'm glad you said that. So when I say 10%, that covers um, from kindergarten, from prima two. What was before? It covers from
Pre-K.
pre-education, which we don't have pre-K, right? Which we really don't have in Liberia, to every university that's on every college. It covers building. It covers everything. Any community college you can think about. That 10% covers all of it, right? Obviously, it's not enough, but let's look at the budget. 10% we spent on education, right? We want to be We want to talk about we're educated and this and that. Okay, countries that came out of civil war, what did they do? Botswana, when it first started,
Human
30
capital
percent,
investment.
30% of their budget was spent on education to begin with. Okay, um, Paraguay came out the same thing. South America. I want to go different places in the world so we know that because Liberian are quick to say, um, well, Liberian politics, as if we're the only ones who've been through civil war. We're the only ones
Exactly.
who've had the spoil system. We're the only one who had patronism. We're the only one who had
Yeah.
cronyism. Okay, nepotism. We're not. All the countries I'm talking about, mostly Liberians say that because they haven't studied
No.
any other country before. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is not to throw education in people's face, but if you're going to have a conversation about something, educate yourself on it first. Do some research, especially when it affects the lives of other people. There is nothing unique in politics in Liberia that other countries didn't go through. Not South
Yeah.
American, not Central American countries, not the United States, not Southeast Asian countries, none of it. Okay. Before I talk about other African countries, we spend 10% of our budget on education. Botswana, 30%. Rwanda, 22%. 22% on education. Okay. These are countries that came out. Singapore, 25%. All right. Like I said, Paraguay, 24%. So what happens when country came out of crisis is what they realized is we have to build human capital.
You
Okay.
must.
So you don't build roads before you built your people. Your people are the ones who are going to build the country. I'm talking about how we have our priority all messed up and mixed all over the place. No one says roads are not important. Nobody says that. What we're saying is this is not the time to do that. You first built your people. You then empower your people. The strategy that was used to come out of any kind of depression was triple R, relief, reform, no, relief, recovery, and then reform, right?
And reform.
Uh,
Yes. Mhm.
yes. So when we say relief, this is what everybody followed. Relief, that means what is hurting the people now. If you were to ask in Liberia, this is a strategy that was used in Singapore, in China, in the United States, in every country, in Argentina, in every country that came out of a crisis or that was nation building. You first relieve the people, right? So, uh, what do we need? What do we mean when we say relief? What do our people need? Well, first of all, how about shelter? Okay, what are we doing to help with sheltering our people? We're not doing much, Cindy. As a matter of fact, we're breaking down homes of poor people, saying they're on the
Yeah.
wrong side of the street, and we're
Yeah.
using eminent domain to do that.
Hmm.
Right? Yes, it's part of the law, but you are being way too harsh. You are not following the formula. Okay, you first find a way to make sure your people have shelter. Okay,
Right.
what else do they need? They need food. What are we doing to subsidize food to make sure it's easier to have access to
Yeah.
access food? Okay, education. I just went over that. 10%. That's not our priority. Okay, let's talk about healthcare. What are you doing to recruit an army of doctors? Yes, I see you trying to recruit people to go fight a war with another poor African countries, your brothers, your cousins right next to you. Great. You have a lot of energy for that, right? I'm talking about Jeremiah Coon. Talking about we can beat
Yeah.
in, we can fight a war. Why are we even talking about war? What you're supposed to do is be bringing down the temperature about that and being
Yeah.
diplomatic and then solving that problem. That's the same civil war brain I'm talking about. There are other people's family and children in that country, and you're just talking recklessly as if you're talking about dominoes pieces or you're talking about a game. Okay, you're supposed to be bringing temperature down. How about you take that same energy and apply it to hiring an army of teachers and equipping them and paying them and then making sure that they have everything they need to teach our children. Okay, so when we talk about a broken nation, Yasendi, I'm talking about that. How much does Liberia spend on healthcare? Well, I can tell you that right now. Okay, 8%. 8% of
Mm,
our budget goes to healthcare. Other countries, there is not one single country that I looked at. 8.4% is what we spent. Um, that I looked at, right? Just quickly looking at before we came on,
mhm,
um, that spent less than 25%. Okay, when it first started. Um, yes, they brought it back down. A lot of them brought it back down to around 14 or 15%. But when it first came out of crisis, a bulk share of their money went to things that benefited the people, Yasin. Okay. We are not doing that. We're buying cars. Okay. We're buying cars for different agencies. We are building homes for the president. We're not putting the people first. So we are a failed state because the purpose of a state, y'all, is to make sure that the people are okay. We're
right.
not doing that. We're not
Yes,
prioritizing the people.
indeed.
So we feel, let's look at security. Look what just happened. Okay? Look what just happened. Forget what happened. Gloria Musu Scott, what's your case? Where's that at? Um, yes, I will applaud them on one thing. They brought Samuel to justice. At least he went through due process. But here's the thing about that. There are so many more things that's going on in the country that is not being taken care of, right? We need to prioritize making sure the rule of law applies to everyone. Okay, we need to make sure that that's priority. You can let someone out of jail who has $100 million, a bunch of drugs on them, and then you just let some foreign national leave the country and flies out the country, all right, after breaking the law. So all these things are needed so we don't have a breakdown in the rule of law. Okay, so I wanted us to talk about that, not just the failed state thing, y'all. I want us to talk about a couple other things, right? The exposure of Yeket. I know we touched on that last week. Or putting Prophet Key in prison for expressing himself. Yes, indeed. The problem with that is not a necessarily Yeket. The problem with that, and I will close on this right now. The problem with that is whenever you silence dissent, the country is going in the wrong direction. There is no nation that is going to prosper that have dictators silencing dissent. None, right? It goes all the way back to anything you can study in history from 1200 and the Magna Carta. You cannot silence dissent. Here is the illustration I will use on that, the analogy. Yes, indeed. My whole life, my whole professional life, I've been a coach. That's what I do, right? And with saying that, I've been in locker rooms with hundreds of, because I'm a football coach, and it's about 100 people on a team in college. And you've had, whenever, just you know this, when you are a student, when your students is talking, we know more about our kids than the parents could possibly ever
Yep,
know, right?
indeed. Tell her again. We do. We
Yeah,
do.
we do because we just become a wallflower, right? They don't see us anymore. They just get used to us and they have authentic conversations
Yep.
as if we're not there, right?
Yep.
What you learn is when you've been around all these boys for all these years in coaching, what I learned is that boys don't care. They don't care about a lot of things that I think a lot of women might think men or boys care about. I'll tell you what I mean by that. When there is no woman involved in it, when there's no one to impress, when it's just us, we don't care about impressing people. We don't. Boys don't care. Men don't. Men get nice cars because they believe women like nice cars. We want to get a big house because that is going to attract a certain type of women we want. We do things to attract you guys. And the reason I'm making this analogy is I'm talking about dissent. The reason we will strive is because, and this is why when you study any society, what people would tell you, what psychologists would tell you is the quickest way to build a society is to empower women. Because when you
Yep.
empower women, women set the expectation. Whatever
Yep.
expectations women set, that's what men are going to reach, live up to, or surpass it. So what I'm
Yep.
saying is, when you don't have critical voices, people stop trying. right? So I'm using an analogy as a women with the critical voices, right? To set high expectations, and you either make it, meet it, or you don't. So when you're silencing dissent in the country of people who will point out your faults and your flaws, you are literally stagnating on progress in the country. So when you put Prophet King in jail, is what he's saying okay? Well, to each his own. Just I'll have no problem him doing that. I believe it's a verbal protest. I believe this is why protest was part of the first amendment to the American Constitution. It's why the right to protest was in the Magna Carta, which we got our every country got their constitution, their democratic constitution from. The right to protest leaders and the dissent without being tortured and beaten. When you beat up kids in the street who are pointing out the fact that they need better schools, you are holding our country back. When you take a
Yeah.
Yaka out of his parliamentary position that people elected, you're silencing their voices. And you're not just doing it to Yaka, you're destroying the country. You need people who points out flaws in you. And with as so doing, that makes the country better. So I wanted to start here. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. And you brought about the Great Depression, and I wanted to, because when you brought the word about rescue, okay, when we get that, who did you rescue? Is it yourself? Because most of you were dying, most of you were beggars, okay. I would have thought that the rescue would be inclusive, right? And it's not. Here, and then you said that it was what? Relief, recover, and refund. We saw that here during the corona. Um, Not only did America help their citizens, give them checks to stay afloat, give PPE loan that a lot of people took and carried to their different various places, okay, to keep the citizens going. But Yeke, I just saw a video this afternoon that Yeke is being threatened. Not just a video, but you know what? Let me put this down. Then we'll talk about that. There's so much to talk about for time. Let me send this message again to Cole. Let me send this message to all of you in Liberia, not just Basso, Montserrat, or Nima County. Let me say to you, you may be in power today. You may be in power today. But remember, the umbrella that are holding you, the people give it to you to shield you. Once you don't have that umbrella anymore, and you will not be there forever, you wouldn't. Will you want for you to be, or your family to be treated the way you people are doing? Okay. And this is for all of you in Liberia. All right. And Peter, I think I sent you a video, but there's so much that is going. What I want to talk also about is this. And Peter, give me a second. I will talk to you guys about Japan. Okay. Japan is a archipelago. That means archipelago. I mean, that means it's a collection of islands. Japan does not have land, at least not enough land. Japan got some, a little bit of, it's a strip collection of islands. Okay. The only thing that they have is fish. They say I'm Asian bipolar. I got the drama. I walk away from the drama. Okay. So let's talk about Japan just a touch. And these are some of the things Alexander Cummings have been saying. I'm going to say this, okay? And say, I've done this, we can do this. And we are telling you, we who study history and study geography, who study other countries, other governance system, not just democracy, but autocracy, the different forms, dictatorship, okay? Even in a communist nation, they make it their business to, you know what, China is now a superpower. In 1976, China could not feed its population because the sea monster you had in Liberia, Mao had the sea monster until Deng came in. Okay, there are three things that any nation needs to develop: human capital investment, that is your literacy, your people, the brain, to build their brain or to build them so they're able to create also and add to the economy, to add to your nation. All right. Another thing is what? Capital goods and infrastructure. At this point, what kind of infrastructure that Liberia needs to be able to connect and kind of tap into the unemployment? You need telecommunication, you need electricity, you need running water. Okay, in the political arena, in that capsule that holds everything, here's where in it. Your economy is in it, your security system is in it, your human capital development is in it, and I can go on and on. So if the political environment is hostile and it does not embrace dissent, you are killing the people and you're killing the nation. You think you're killing the nation, but you're killing the people, but you're killing the nation. And if you are investing few people, let's say, for instance, Bwaka, his children are rich now. How much can they buy? How much can one person have? I am almost 60 years old. I'll be having my pre-60 birthday. Okay. Now, in my house, I really don't need a lot of stuff. I got this money, look in my closet, grab the same thing. I know that young people will go shopping. When you invest young people, because they need stuff, they will buy. When people have, I have a little more than a lot of people. I don't go shopping because I'm going to a funeral, because I'm going to a wedding. Like last week, I went to a funeral and I went to a wedding where I walked in from my closet. He had been there for years. I didn't go to go spend any more money. Okay. So during the Great Depression, the New Deal that rebirthed America, guess what FDR did? 7 million young people between 18 to 25 to restart the engine of the nation. What are we doing? Now, the heart of the nation, Peter, I will stop, okay? But I want to read this really quickly to you, that Peter, I will stop. Here it is. Japan, I missed a note. Japan has a mixed market, right? One of the strongest in the world. Remember, in 1945, Japan was decimated, right? It was bomb, atomic bomb. That's the first time they used it. The people died from cancer for a long time. Not just one, right? Two, Peter, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki, right? And they did that. Those people suffer, but guess what? When the world decided to help them, they put that money in the human capital. Here is Japan, one of the strongest stronger economy in the world, with few natural resources and little farmland. Japan has built an economy around manufacturing and advanced machinery and technology. Do you know what that requires? Knowledge, training of the mind, skills. That would be what? Your human capital development. Peter, I will stop.
So now I'm gonna take off exactly where you left off.
Mhm.
Human capital. When you look at Japan and you look at even a big old country like Russia after World War One, you look at any country besides not Western, like Southeast Asian country. Singapore is another one. Taiwan, those countries, right? China. Here's what you learn. It does start with human capital. There is no, you can do it the way you want. It can start with human capital. That means the people in the country. How much do they know? What do they have? What can they contribute? So what these countries did was India, they sent their best minds to the West. Go West, young man. They went West to study, and those people came back. Those people
Botswana does
remitted
that
money.
too. Mhm.
Yes, Botswana did that. They remitted money back. So people went and got knowledge and brought it back. Okay. We were supposed to do that. When you don't, and I want to stick on this point for a while, because it seems like people don't understand when we say this government is failing. Like, well, look, we got roads, right? We got roads, and the man is, we building a mall and we built a bridge. Like, no, no, that's not how it's done. I use this analogy. I'm gonna keep using it. It's literally like trying to make GB and taking the cassava right out the ground and putting it in the pot and boiling without peeling it. That's what it is, right? And then when someone say, "Hey, you can't just put the dirty cassava in the pot," you go, "You trying to tell me you can't boil the cassava?" That's not what they're saying. They're saying that's not
Peter.
when you do that. That's not how you do it. You got to peel it first, make sure the water's clean, You can just put it in. So now you just focus on it being boiled when the truth is that's not how you make the meal, right? That's what we're doing, building roads and bridges, and we're wasting money with expending capital that we need for other things. Human capital. You sent them west to learn. Yeah, Sandy, you started this conversation saying there isn't a skill that is needed that you don't have an expert Liberian in
No,
for a small
exactly,
country.
exactly, exactly. Indeed.
So here's how we're lucky, right? What we have that is even more precious than our gold, which is extremely precious, we have human capital that
Yeah,
our country didn't even have to build. There are Liberians in England, in Australia, in China, with great knowledge for nation build. In the United States, no field we don't cover, right? If you're really trying to
yeah,
invest in human capital, what you do is you'll tap into that in a real way, not by, oh, we're going to have a community meeting. No, you will literally be strategic about it, just like Rwanda did, and try
yeah,
and use incentives to get those people back to connect with them. We're not doing that. And because we're not doing that, because we're not starting with human capital, that's why a person like me knows that we're not going anywhere because no other nation was built in this manner. They didn't build roads first. They didn't build bridges first. As a matter of fact, when a lot of people started, they did their railroads only because it was more durable, it was cheaper to put down, and
yeah. And
transportation
also
was
it was
better.
for commerce.
Yes,
It was for
because of
commerce.
commerce,
You
right?
don't, you, Peter. Just let me interject. You
Yes.
know, I hear Liberians say, "Go open store." People don't open store as charity. You have to have market, and that's I studied that. You have to have market. What is your GDP per capita in a nation? How many of your or how much of your population can afford? You got 64% of the population live below the poverty line. Must beg to eat, or they eat off the land. There's not disposable income. There's nothing for luxury. There's nothing to go buy juice with. There's nothing to go shopping with, but barely. That's why people go to political party to collect t-shirts. And that's what we're trying to tell y'all. There is a better way. You don't have to reinvent the
Do
wheel.
it.
The wheel is here.
Absolutely.
Customize it. And Peter and just them, they don't get the best of us to try to lead because this current vice president says, okay, to somebody personally that I know, I do not like educated people. They're too complicated. They less steps. They like this. You need educated people. China that you go to beg, invest. In fact, education is a pride and very competitive. Indian in the caste system, all right? Professional teachers are next to God in India. That's why they make sure their children are engineers, they're doctors, they're not just brilliant. Okay, the Japan that we're talking about, it believes in order. Okay, order meaning to be one with nature. The people must be vested. So there's a better way. But you can't just get those who get on Facebook and talk, have no practical experience. It's like Peter and me as a teacher, right? Somebody said at the headquarters, and you're telling me about behavior, you're writing it, you never work in the field. You don't know how children relate. Like when I was studying for my test, you told me, you say, yeah, you can't teach them until you can reach them. So I've learned to sit on the floor with a child I feel is struggling. I learned to talk to the child that came to class with their shoulder down and say, what happened? I got daddy issue, or do I'm not daddy. Try to pair that child with somebody who could be a figure to them, and then come back and get a hug later. I cried with a child yesterday who lost her best friend. He's an only child. And his cousin is a girl that was his best friend and like a daughter to his mom and died from cancer. And this child really, I used to think he didn't like me. And he stood, he could not leave. And I said to him, do you want to hug? He said, yes. He started crying. And he hugged me so hard. But they're kids, I'm afraid. But I'm gonna let it's okay, it's okay. And I have to send him to a counselor. So the point I'm trying to make here is the people must come first. Peter, I'm not gonna interject again.
No, that's fine. Again, I want to take off where you landed. Okay. Um, when you talk about disposable incomes, that is very important. Again, I'll go back to you also mentioned Facebook, right?
Yes,
When there are different, yes, it's social media, it's just a market, right? That's fine. People are talking out there. But when we are talking about serious national issues and there are people just throwing things out because they support a certain government without studying it,
yes,
that's a problem. And it's a problem because me, for once, says, okay, if you think you're right, let's debate this in a live format where you can't just go AI something and put it on the screen and then
exactly.
act like you understand it. Okay. Um, what you find out is that a lot of them don't know much about what they're talking about. Okay. You heard George Lobo say this one time. He said,
Judge always the
"Why?"
airhead, a
Yeah,
talking
well,
head.
we know that, but until we show the world that this person should not be listened to, it's not because we're trying to disrespect him, but he's not informed, and we're talking about people's family here, that's a major problem. He said, Cummings, why don't you just bring um, factories to Liberia? So my question to him would be, do you know what's required for a factory to come to a country? Have you looked into it? Okay. It sounds so simple. Just bring the factories. Number one, for someone to bring their factory, something they have worked their billion dollars, where they have investors and they have all these people on the board that they have to answer to. For them to bring their factory to Liberia, they have to look at that and say, this is going to be a huge win for us. Because
Yes,
Liberia is now a place that anyone's running to come. When I say huge win,
right.
what are they saving on? When they're going to bring their factories, especially now with the AI revolution, are they going to save on electricity? Oh, they're not, because we don't even have steady electricity for our regular population. So who's
Mhm.
bringing the factory there, right? Number two, um, do we have people with disposable income who is going to consume the goods that they are making? Oh, we're not, because our people are purely making their daily bread or their basic needs. So they're not going to get luxuries, right? What type of
Yep.
factories are you talking about? Okay. Do we have this great transportation, um, international transportation system? No, we
Systems. Yep.
don't. Everything is hard. Do we have this smooth working of people who would make sure that their goods get out to other places? We don't. The government doesn't prioritize making business, the ease of business doing in the country. It's not simple. So why would they
Yep.
come when you have to bribe people and you have to say this one go stay in line? Everything is inefficient. You can't bring a factory to the country unless the environment is good. You can't just. There's a reason why factories were taken to China and taken to a place like Cambodia and Laos. There's a reason for that. The reason they did that was those people tertiary education. Let me explain that to you.
Yep.
They were
See,
so intentional about their human capital building that they emphasized skills, vocational skills, working with their hands. This is before computers and AI and all this
mhm,
robotics became so popular, right? So they
mhm,
had a human capital who could make those transition boards and those motherboards for things that computers couldn't do. So it was easier to use them. Number one, and number two, besides the fact that their work was such high level, and it was high
mhm.
level because their government emphasized that from kindergarten, that they work with their hands and they work in those very fine work with their hands. That's what companies and these electronic companies were bringing their stuff there. That's what the sneakers companies were going there, because the people were trained, intentionally trained for that. Secondly, it was cheaper labor. Thirdly, the government subsidized the transportation of those
Yes.
things,
Yes.
right? So the
Yes.
government
Yes.
did that.
Yes.
Okay, let's
Yes.
talk about America. America became great because the government subsidized the factories. They give people free land. They give them tax breaks. They give them loans to do that.
Yep.
And when they fail, they build them out and say, try again.
Yep,
over and over again.
indeed.
Because of that, they attracted really, really brilliant people with ideas, and the country flourished. Same thing with England, even though they're not this great manufacturing thing, but they just started with coal. But the government subsidized that, and they started this thing called mercantilism. That means they protected those ships, they protected their people. The government intentionally built this capitalistic system. Governments, government, not individuals. Not, oh, you're rich, so bring a factory. Lobo, that's why you're poor. You don't think. Rich people don't do that. As a matter of fact, they became rich because they were very, very intentional about moves to make, and they worked hard. When I'm calling you lazy because you haven't studied it. Because had you studied it, you'll not make such a boneheaded comment like just bring factories and empower people when the system is not in place. And the only group that can do that is government. Only government can do the heavy lifting when it comes to factory. Let me get to young people. I saw a post on Facebook the other day, and the post was talking about there was this girl. She had a Louis Vuitton bag. Two things. Let me touch on Yas, talk about her closet, and then I'm gonna talk with that little girl. Yasendi is what we call upper middle class people. Now I don't want to put your business out there, yeah, but I'm just being honest. Upper middle class means they have money. They could be okay. They could go on vacation. They'll get a nice car, live in a nice
You
house. It's
already put
upper
me
middle
out
class.
there, Peter. You already put me out
I'm
there. My
sorry.
phone will ring all day long.
when
Thank you.
when people are upper middle class, but you have your family to take care of you, upper middle class also comes with high bills. But what happens is those people, you said, well, I have a shirt closet for years. Yes, because even the t-shirt you buy is going to be high quality. It doesn't break down because of the price. That's the thing of America, right? The quality of it, when you spent that money, you get to keep that for 10 years because of the quality would not diminish. That's pretty much what you're paying for. You're not getting a new car every month, especially when you're older. You're like, okay, I got to think about retirement. You don't need to get things just to get things. You know who does that? Young people. Young people will buy things over and over. So this little girl has a bag, and she took a bunch of pictures with those bags, and people's like, oh, she's always wearing this is in Liberia. She's always got the same bag. She's always taking pictures with the same bag. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Well, for young people, there's something wrong with that. You need to change up. Young people spur economies. They're spenders. So what countries do is they intentionally, including the United States of America, make sure there's disposable income in the hands of young people because they'll go and do stupid things like buy 10 different bags when you can get two quality bags and use that, right? They
Exactly.
spend money. So we're not empowering our young people. We don't have disposable income, Lobo. We barely have money. We hear the Republicans and Democrats arguing the reason they have welfare and all this stuff. They need spenders. Liberia don't have spenders like that. We got money for our phone bill and to go to clubs on the weekend and spend $20. That's not spender. We need someone buying a couple of hats and t-shirts and buying things they don't necessarily need. For that to be possible, money has to be there. And that money cannot leave the country. We have to stop capital flight. What does that mean? The businesses, the bulk of the big businesses are owned by the Indians and the Lebanese and the Turkish people and the Chinese. Those people cannot have all these businesses. So I was talking to someone else, and he asked me, "How is Cummings going to get rid of what did he say? How is he going to alleviate poverty?" Right? I'm like, yeah, he has to start on a micro level. Okay. When I said micro level, he was like, M-I-M-R-M-A, like, whatever. M-I, micro level. That means you have to empower the small businesses first. And not just empower them by giving them money, but also giving them the assistance they need to build their businesses. Liberia's One of Liberia's biggest problem before you put any money. This is why I'm so against us getting loans for the IMF. It's not saying we don't need loans. First of all, you shouldn't be doing that at this point. You can invest in your gold and refine your own gold and borrow against it. That's a different conversation for a different day. What has to happen is we need to invest in our own people, right? So, micro economy. What do I mean by that? The small businesses. So the hardware store, right? The big businesses like the hotels and the big restaurants, the car business, the government needs to get in a place where Liberia owns that, right? Where Liberians own those businesses. So the money is recycled in Liberia, not have all these businesses owned by foreigners that takes that money and they're in Liberia to do business and remit that money back to their family in their homeland, just like us in America do to the tune of 800 million. Okay. So if you don't fix that leaking bucket, whereas so many businesses, 80% of the real major money making business and your natural resources is being extracted out of the country, you don't get to fix nothing. You don't get to bring a factory when you don't invest in your human capital. You don't get to do any of that. So when I say the government is a failed government, it's because they're not even at step one yet. And there are so many people who have not studied the process at all. Not even a little bit studied the process, just running their mouths because they're on TV or they're on some on podcasts because they're getting paid consultancy by this government who are using them as propaganda. Well, there's a problem with your propaganda because our people are dying while you're doing your propaganda. Our country isn't getting better, not in any way, shape, or form. We are literally wasting resources. There's no reason why we're getting $22 million worth or $32 million worth of yellow machines at this point in our development. That money could have went into human capital investment. That money could have gone into creating an army of doctors and building hospitals and bringing an army of teachers.
Health is
Okay,
wealth.
and developing our people first and then doing the other things. Until you do that, you are completely clueless as to how nations are built. Here's a question I always ask them, Yasendi, and I'll close here. I said, name me one nation that have studied or that have followed the strategy that Joseph Boyka is following, right? And his team or his government is following and became successful. They went from abject poverty to prosperity. Name one. They can't answer. Number one, because they haven't studied it. They don't give a damn. Okay. They don't know it enough, but they feel like everyone should have an opinion on it. You can't have an opinion on stuff that affects other people's family and without being informed about that. Okay. So they haven't studied it. No one has done it this way. Nobody. So when you haven't studied how nations are built, you get to say whatever the heck you want and it comes to your mind, and everyone hears that as noise because they think all things are even. Well, these people must know something. They're controlling the government. No, they know nothing. They haven't studied it, and they get offended when you call them out and become disrespectful about it, and they will not take the challenge. So we can literally look at country after country individually and be intentional about talking about how this hasn't worked for anyone yet. Okay, so I'm gonna land here, yeah.
Thank you, Peter. I wanted to come to China a little bit. Okay, and I talk about China um, in 1976. China were destitute. Chinese were eating one another. Chinese eat all the locusts, they have nothing because of the same thing that we are doing now. And then another leader comes. I usually say it take one man. If we talk about these places that Peter talked about, it took one person to bring the breakthrough. It took Deng Xiaoping before Xi Jinping came into that. It took Lula de Silva of Brazil. It took Paul Kagame right now. A lot of people may not like him, but it took him. Okay. It took Park Hong Chi what call it South Korea, okay, to change the nation. It took what is his guy name? Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. All right. But all of them seem that they follow the same roadmap that Peter is saying. The same process. Putting the people first. When you build the people will build a nation. Where I said today, when I came to this country, this place were all farmland. When we moved here, there were gravel road. There were not pavement. Today it's 2-lane road. Because taxes started coming in, people started moving in, and they used the money to invest. Okay, when America needed to build an 8-lane, in fact 6-lane, first we were in doing what the factory here with printed soccer boards and all of that Peter spoke about, right? We brought in Indian engineers. We brought them on to teach at universities, to empower the U.S. Group, and as the other people were sending their own engineers here to learn the new technology that America were coming with. I'm one of those people, those who build for Baker and Dickinson digital boards. Our part of the system of transitioning from analog to digital electronics until the bubble busted. So the point I'm making here is China. When the Chinese people come into your country, okay, the government gave them money. Here is what it says right here. Let me say it really quickly. It said what? China calls its economy socialist market economy. Basically, China is transitioning from command economy, once completely controlled by the Chinese communist government, to a mixed economy, okay, on scene. But if you look at here, it has a 20-year plan. You see China, the same 20 years will be leader of everything, because all the manufacturing, you know what they do? Education. They place you not based on who know you, based on how much time you're willing to put in, your performance. They do not care how hard your society is. If your child can produce, you're going to your next level. Okay? So most of our clothes come from China, depending on what brand you want. Even your Louis Vuitton is designed, crafted, and taken to Italy for the logo. That's the difference. All right? Singapore got over 500 billion GDP with 1 million more population and a smaller land than us. We're 6 million. Our land is bigger. We have more natural resources than Singapore. And you don't find trash in Singapore. They use the trash to power the nation. That's technology. That's brain work. When you educate your people, they will find a way. When the more educated people are, the higher level of thinking they are. Even the product they produce, okay, is higher quality. That's what they tell you. They tell you your GDP and your nation wealth or health are directly correlated. Okay, until we learn that this is where we are. But I also, Peter, and you can come to where I am. I like to ask the Liberian people about their culture, because when they do horrible things, when they want to annihilate other people, when they want to dismiss other people, they tell you that's not their culture. And I'm trying to find out what is the Liberian culture. My grandfather from my mother's side comes from Nimakende, and my grandfather was a chief. My grandmother wore those handcrafted woven cloth around her waist. And because she was the chief wife, she covered her boobs here and put a lot of beads on top of it. The rest of the young people, especially during festival, full moon, what story I told, they only wore beads around them. The boobs, everything was outside. The girls wore bumble. And before bumble cloth became, how you call it, they wore grass skirt. Now I want to find out, those of you who said that girl, I don't want to show her picture because I don't think we need to show it. The girl had a thong. When I was growing up, before I found out, Peter, excuse me, my little brother, before I knew about Cortex, we put cloth between our legs and tie cloth around our waist to hold it in so you can be drooling all over the place. So now I don't see factory in Liberia. Yesterday I was mad when I spoke, but I want to speak now that I'm calmer. I want to understand those of you who are saying this is not our culture. It's violent, our culture. A young lady was beaten to death by her boyfriend. I didn't see any outrage. A young man, they say he stole, was beaten and stoned to death, hair busted as he took his last breath. I saw a father, well-dressed man, who were interviewing and say, I'm going to go by him. I didn't see any outrage from the mothers and the fathers of Liberia. I saw a lady just during this time, naked. They said she was being arrested. I don't see no outrage. I see a little boy who was kidnapped for 3 days and molested by three grown men until his backside was just leaking water. I didn't see no outrage like this. Now, I like for me to speak, I like to understand what is the Liberian culture, what rule applies to everyone because it has to be standardized. What is our culture? So, Peter, that would be my last talk. I'm gonna leave you to the rest because we got to make time to talk about this. We got to make time. Next week, I don't have anything planned, even if they're feeling like I'm not going. That's too much for me. But I want to take more time and talk to Liberian people. Catherine, I hear you. We will try to be on the air in Liberia. We both study history. Peter teach young people. He build up people. He's into sports. I love children. I have transitioned 3 different career. This is my retirement career per se. He's still young. He got a lot of living in him to do, but we will be on the air to see we're bringing this on to help our country. Okay, when we speak out of the love of our nation, love of our fellow man, because we think it will take all of us to build a nation. Nobody, not even there's not no one is native enough to be a Liberian. No one is Congo enough to be a Liberian. We have to all be Liberians to build a nation. And if we are not Liberians, we can't build a nation. We just be fragmented. Peter, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say thank you.
Well, yeah. Again, let me go a couple of places that you went, and I'm listening keenly to what you're saying. You mentioned command economy,
Mhm.
and that is very important for people to understand what you're saying. China is transitioning from command economy to a mixed market economy.
Mhm.
Here's what that means. Command economy simply talks about intentionality. There are people who study their economics, okay? They study economies. They went to the West. They took their best minds, sent them to America, sent them to Germany, sent them to England, and these people learn about global economy and economic trends. When they came back to China, they said, these are the products we should be making. This is where the world is headed. And guess what? Those are things that China did. They didn't look at,
Yeah.
just like democracy, right? They didn't wait for demand, right? They were intention, they were vision driven. And they said, we're going to make these things, and the government's going to invest in this, this, and this because of this. They had those committees that came up with it. Here's why that's important. That is having a plan. When you talk to these people who are supposed to be in government, who's supposed to be making decisions, and your old wise one, Joseph Boycott, who I think is one of the least informed humans in Liberia to ever lead any country, and that's a debate that I'm willing to. That's a sword I'm willing to fall on, and a hill I'm willing to die on. I I dare anyone. Let's debate that topic. He's not informed. I'm not saying that to disparage this man. I'm saying it because there are people's children, my kids, other people's family members, their blood on the line for someone not knowing what they're doing. It's literally like putting someone in the cockpit of a plane who does not know how to fly because you have some affinity for them and you because you like that person. It's not going to work. You don't get to kill me or kill my family because you want the person you kind of like to fly the plane. We need pilots. Command economy. So China took their money and intentionally invested in those sectors, invested in their people to prepare for what was coming. Right? They made certain things. They're preparing a certain way. That's command. That means a government saying what product is going to be made. They didn't wait to say what does the market want. Right? Their government. This is why they were communistic, right? And that's the thing. You can't give everyone a voice. They didn't do that. They said what was going to happen. And now, because they're rolling, they can transition to okay, what does the market want? Okay, they can relax the standard a little bit. Same thing with housing in America, same thing with housing in China. They built a bunch of homes for the people, nice houses. They didn't have to spend 200, $300,000, 400, $600,000 on a house. They give them apartments so that people don't even have to worry about that. We are not and did not do that. We're not doing that. Every other country that developed did those things. They were intentional about it. Okay. I started off talking about how other countries spent way more money on education initially. Now they relaxed it to about 15, 16%. But they started at 25% because they knew they had to build their human capital. Again,
Mm-hmm.
if you had a leader who knew what he was doing, that's what they would have done. You always hear him talking about, oh, this person, this party agenda. Guys, let me explain to you what an agenda is. Agenda is a step in what's going to happen to get to an objective. Objective is what's the goal here? We're working towards this
Yep.
agenda. Okay, this is what we're going to do first. This is what we're going to do second. This is what we're going to do third. That's all agenda does. It tells you what we're going to do next. What is the objective? To poverty eliminate and build the nation is the objective. So let's talk about how nations are built so we can know that if that agenda matches what the objective is. When you hear them talk, they say, oh, go read, what does he call it? Arrest agenda. What
Arrest
are you talking
agenda.
about, arrest agenda? Like you're talking to people who are idiots. You're literally disrespecting our intellect, right? I said in this conversation, Liberian government does not need to invest in people that's already been America already invested in us, right? That just bring us back. England already invested in those Liberians, or Australia already invested in them. We already have the skills that you didn't have to pay for. You didn't have to
Yep.
pay for it. So bring us back. Okay?
Peter.
Incentives to bring these people back. Okay, go ahead, yeah, but I want to hit other
No,
points.
no,
But go
no,
ahead.
no, that's okay. You know, I always said we are the middle class that Liberia never created. All you need to do is
Absolutely.
tap into it. Tap into it. And a
Yes.
good leader. And a
Strategically
show
do
leader.
that.
And a leader who wants to leave a lasting legacy will tap into that. Because our
But
minds
here's the
are
thing.
already shaped. Mhm. Go ahead.
But here's the
Sorry.
thing, they're not tapping into it, right? You have a president, a cheeky president, a disrespectful, a dismissive person, right? He's an older man, expects respect, but disrespects the lives of people and says Donald Trump is going to get you, right? What are you talking about? Who are you talking to? What type of leader speaks like that to his people? When you should be inviting those people, and you should be doing what Rwanda did and creating incentives and begging them to come back and saying, this is what you're going to get when you come back. This is what intelligent leaders did
Ethiopia is
and
doing that
do.
too.
Okay? Ghana is starting to do that. Okay? This is what countries do. You don't sit there and say, oh, you don't want to come back to America, that you come back to Liberia and help build your country that you've been in. Who talks like that and expects to be respected? And who's respecting him? And if you respect him, you're part of the slave brain. You don't understand. You can't do that. You're turning people off. Okay? You're not creating incentives, and it's hurting our country. It might not be hurting you and your kids, but it's hurting our country. Another thing, right? We talk about, you hear them say, "Oh, Cummings is not. He's going to be Bacchus Matthew, and he's not going to go anywhere." I saw Emmerich write something to the like, how does that hurt Cummings if you don't like
Yeah.
him?
How
A
does
person
that
with a
hurt you?
skill,
Yeah.
right? You have a doctor and you say, oh, we're not going to use that doctor. You think he's proud. Meanwhile, your kids are dying. Like,
Your
who's that
kids are
hurting?
dying. Yes.
Okay.
So who
So
you
you're
hurt?
setting this unrealistic expectation from this man. Oh, he can come and shake hands. He got kiss butt. He got dance a certain way. You are hurting yourself, dude. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting other people's family, and you wonder why people are willing to fight you. This is how the Civil War happened. Let me go to what that lady said, the whataboutism that she brought about. Okay?
Yep.
Yes, indeed. So somebody from Nigeria called us out on our hypocrisy and the
Yep.
fact that we don't get, like, what are we doing here? There is a major crisis in your country that should be on the table to discuss. It's a dispute between two countries. In America, this is why they have the federal government. And there's always dispute between states, especially when it comes to water and
There is
land.
always,
Okay?
yeah, always.
Arizona
Georgia and
and
Tennessee.
California.
Georgia and
Yes.
Tennessee all the time over the Chattahoochee. Yes.
Yes. And Liberians don't know this because they haven't studied. Again, just have an honest conversation with your brothers who might know this. Ask more questions, you offer answers. Disputes are going to happen over land. It happens in America because America is a federal country. So these states operate as countries. So there are dispute between states. Guess who steps in to fix it? The federal government and federal court systems. This is what ECOWAS is for us. So when ECOWAS say you have a beef between Guinea and Liberia, why are we not talking about this? This could create problems. They could start a civil war where people are going to be displaced. Now we have to take on that burden. People are going to die. This is what we hear. Why are you not bringing that up? This woman, instead of her saying, well, here's the issues, she took offense to that. I can imagine being married to someone who's so defensive. That's so vile. And that marriage will never work or will be extremely unhappy because it's like, yo, you hurt me. And last week you hurt me too. Like, what? Well, how come you didn't bring it up? So let's talk about that, but don't bring that up when I'm bringing up my issue at this time. And that's what she did. Well, don't you have problems in your country in the north? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, they have problems. So when you went to Parliament, you should have brought that up. Okay, if you think that's going to be a problem that's going to affect Liberia, you bring it up. You don't do it. What about you? You got this in your eye. Like, don't worry about that. Did you or did you not expel someone from the legislature and by so doing silence the voice of
Yes.
all those people who elected him? Go ahead, y'all.
Exactly. No, I'm agreeing with you. That's exactly what
Yes.
she said. I didn't know you were bringing that up. Yes, she said,
Yes.
what kind of democracy do you want to practice? Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Yes.
You-
So you silence the voice of people who raised their hand and said, we want this guy. It's not just Yeket, it's the people who believed in him. Now I'm going to question democracy and the rule of law that you remove illegally because you say he made a sarcastic statement about the land belonging to Guinea since Joseph Boyka hasn't done anything about the land. So the land, and Boyka said that, and Joseph Boyka said, God, I'm making
We're not making new land.
Yeah, that's sarcasm for a country's policy leaders to say that is then treasonous. Tells you how badly our country is doing, how horrible the hands we have left our children in. Those people have no business making decisions for the rest of us. Okay. So when this man brings it up, instead of addressing the issue, you did what aboutism. You said, what about this? What about that? Lady, you are unpleasant to be around. Nobody with any intelligence or any choice would choose to be around someone like that. When I bring up my issue, let's discuss the issue. If you had an issue, you bring it up and we'll talk about it. But you don't wait till I say you guys are not fixing the problem in your country, and then you say, oh, what about your country? Like, who talks like that? And these are the people who are supposed to be our leaders. And they're making decisions that affects our children. We're not even talking about what type of school system we have. The world is literally going to a fourth industrialization with AI revolution. Our kids not even on computers yet. Okay, we're not even talking about building STEM schools. And we act like this is not, like the tide's not coming that's going to swallow. There's a tsunami coming, and then we're ignoring it as if we close our eyes, we're not going to get buried. Okay, and these are people making decisions for us, and people have the audacity and the gall to try to sit and use ad hominems to shut people up, right? Set some high unrealistic expectation. Oh, Cummings is not doing that. Oh, Cummings is not doing that. The problem is, Yasendi, and I'm going to close on this. We are allowing these people to set the narrative. We are allowing these people to tell our people what's going on. A person told me the other week, Cummings lied. Cummings, it was not a CEO. Something you can easily look up, right? And again, another thing that bothers me about our people is they don't know enough. They would just talk. I'm like, guy, you can literally Google the fact that Cummings was a COO of this company, what he did. He said on that unrealistic expectation, he said, what decisions, and I'm bringing this up because I feel like it's important. This person says, I know Cummings, and I was close to him. I was one of those people who helped bring him to the party. Cummings doesn't know how to do this, this, and this. So me being mean say, don't do the this, and this. Tell me specifically what you're asking and what answer he didn't give or he gives you. And this person couldn't say anything. They said, one of the things was poverty elimination. I said, well, if that's what you believe that Cummings going to do, then I don't know if I should be nice to you moving forward because You just lied on this man. And I don't care if I like this person, don't like. It's not okay to lie on people, because when it comes to poverty reduction, that's one thing that he has a really good grasp of. Okay, I study
An
it. The
economist.
reason I started
Yes.
paying attention, the reason I started paying attention to Cummings is because how he explained how to eliminate poverty. From my study, I was like, who the hell is this guy and what is he talking about? Because the strategies he was talking about is what other nations did. That's how he got my attention. So for you to sit here and tell me he doesn't know about that, tells me you are just here to badmouth someone, and that's not okay. Okay. Too many of these people set unrealistic expectations. He said, what decisions did Cummings make in Coca-Cola? I was like, I'm not privy. He said, what's the major decision? I was like, well, I can tell you he had to have made decision that COOs make everywhere he goes. He goes, oh, you can give me a specific one. I was like, okay, great. I can't give you a specific one because it's not important. So now you tell me what decision Ronald Reagan did before he became president, major decision that Bill Clinton did, what George Bush did. You know why you don't know those things? Because it's not out like, oh, these are the decisions I made. When they become president, then you know it. Okay, so you set an unrealistic expectation for Cummings and saying, list the decisions they made. Tell me the major decision that Joseph Boycott made before he became president, or Ellen Johnson made before she became president. Okay, that compel you to vote for them, or that George Weah made before he became president. You don't get to destroy the one person who we know for a fact have the knowledge to help us because you set unrealistic expectations while our family members are hurting and dying. You create a fight. It's not about Cummings. It's about my children. It's about my nephews, about my nieces, about my aunties, my uncles who are still stuck in that country with people like you playing gatesman and turning away people who could help us while the house is on fire. So anyway, yes, Andy.
Thank you, Peter. We will end with this. Thank you, Peter, for availing yourself to talk to our people again today. Appreciate you. You are still fighting, and that's great. I'm humbled to say we're on this journey together. We don't need to, but we also need to. It cut both ways. For like you said, the decision is not about now; it's about our children. This young man right here, because when people do wrong, we praise them. I wanted to talk to this guy yesterday when I did my show in the morning. This is Musa, okay, Augustine Musa. There are still good men in Liberia. Um, Peter is here. Musa was the gentleman, the policeman. I don't know what department of the police he is, who took his clothes, a police uniform, to cover the lady at red light. When I did my show yesterday around about 8:40, 8:30 a.m. yesterday, I said I wanted to talk to him. I saw this picture on Mariah's page. I want to talk to this man. I want to say thank you to him. I want to say a special thank you to him. Okay. If anybody who knows him, please tell him to inbox me between us. Whatever he tells me, if he says I don't need to talk, I will not talk. I just want to tell him and tell him thank you. To say that we need to amplify this man to tell our young people that this is what the police is supposed to do, to serve and protect. This man put himself in harm's way yesterday or day before yesterday when mob of people descended on the woman because of her own clothes that she wore. And all of you on social media or on regular what do you call it traditional media who think that lady had no right to dress like that, you something have to be wrong with you. First, you need to learn where your culture is. But I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to Augustine. Augustine, thank you. There are good people in the national force in Liberia. Still, there's some good people still there. This is one of them. That one act that he stood up. Maybe he was thinking about his wife. Maybe he was thinking about his mother. Maybe he was thinking about his daughter. Maybe he was thinking about his auntie. Maybe he was thinking about his niece. Maybe he was thinking about his own sisters. Empathy, service. This man deserves our honor. And my organization would like to acknowledge him. I want him to contact me. I really do. Anybody who knows him, please just share this video with him. I want to not just talk to him. I would do something for him. I'm saying I'm not asking anybody else. I would do it for him. I would do it for him as a woman, as a advocate. So I want to say thank you, Musa. I will stop here. So Peter,
So
that's
yeah, can
my
I jump in real quick and say something about
go
that?
on, go on, go on, Peter.
So real quick, I know you have to run.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
So when we are talking about you ask what is your culture or what do we care about in Liberia?
Hmm.
Let's not be unrealistic. Let's not be hypocrites, right? We come
Hmm.
from a country where we have a rape epidemic.
Hmm.
We have a rape culture.
Hmm.
Um, Here's why that is a major problem, people. Um, when you rape a woman, it's like you destroy the woman, right? You rape
Yep.
her, you destroy her. We're not just raping women; we're raping boys, we're raping children. That's a especially vile crime when you do it to a child. This is the culture that we come from, right?
Hmm.
We are not happy because someone wore a bikini out in public. I guess I didn't see her outfit before they decided to rip her clothes off like a bunch of
She had on
animals.
mini skirt, really short, almost like the cheerleading clothes that the girls wear with their little
Hmm.
bike on it, but she had on a thong. Yes, apparently.
Okay,
Mm.
so because she has a thong on, you think it's okay to attack her and destroy her. Someone's wife or someone's girlfriend, someone's sister, someone's daughter. You think it's okay, and that's your culture. So what you're saying is, when there's something that we object to, it's okay to take the law into our own hands
Yes, to
and
violate
harm
people.
someone for it.
Yes,
That's the culture you're saying? Because I hate stupid people. So then when I see you do something stupid, I should take a bat and hit you in the head with it. Is that what you're saying? That's our culture?
yes,
Because there are things that I object to that is you. A woman dressing like that, it's okay if you're gay, just say you're gay. Like she's not hurting you, she's not your wife. Why you, even if she's your wife, why would you be attacking her like animals? Is that okay? That's your culture? Is it your culture that we have rape? There's no outrage for that. We have crisis of rape in our country of kids. No
and
outrage. You don't
stealing,
see the people
and
in red.
stealing, and
Yeah,
lying, and
the people
corruption.
in red
Yes,
light don't. There's no up in arms about that. We have people dying all the time, right? We had a guy with rocks thrown at him. So, oh, he's campaigning at the wrong time. So you get to take someone's father away from them
yep,
and kill him because
yep.
he's campaigning at the wrong time. That's your culture. That's what you're saying is your culture. No, I'm going to speak for the Liberian men. We're not okay with that. If a girl wants to dress the way she wants, let her, and she's going to. And here's what I said to people, right? To me, that's a setup for a person like me. Yeah, I know you have to run real quick. It's a setup for a person like me because I promise you guys, and everyone knows it. I don't need to be loud about it. If that happened to my wife, my sister, my daughter, okay, I will rewind the tape. I will find you guys one at a time. There'll be no police call. I don't need no police doing nothing, and I will handle it. And I'll handle it one at a time, and I will hide during the day, and I will find you, I will stalk you, and I'm gonna take care of you, and you'll be taught a lesson. You don't get to dehumanize someone's child, someone's wife, someone's sister, another human being because you don't like what the war. That's turn your head. That's not your business. You don't get to take someone away from their family and take away her pride because you don't like. I don't like the fact you got dirty clothes on. Should I rip that off of you too and smack you in the face for it? That Yasendi, they don't speak for us. Those people.
No,
That's
they
not our
don't.
culture. Okay,
No, it's
those
not.
men who did that, those men did that because they could never get a girl that looks half a decent looking, and that's some form of jealousy and some
Yeah,
form of hatred that they hate themselves, and then now they're going to act animalistic. I don't want the world to see them and be like, "Oh, this is Liberia. This is not Liberia. It's those people, and those people better be dealt with." Because when you start telling people it's okay to do that, you're telling us it's okay to go back to the state of nature who is everyone for himself. Is that really what you want? because a lot of you guys will lose because I don't think you have money to buy the weapons that other people can get their hands on and they can eliminate you. We're in a country in a place where the rule of law that governs all of us. You don't get to do mob violence and get away with it. I've watched you guys kill people. I watched you run people over because they stole something. You don't do that with your government officials who is stealing your entire future. But you want to rip up.
Yes.
Yo, it's a bully country, Yasendi, and I'm so sick of it. And I think I was put on earth to fight bullies to the day they put me on the ground. You do that to my daughter, a bunch of people. I will show up to your church, brother. I will show up. There's a pastor on here who was talking, the girls from the devil, whatever. All right, pastor, do that to my wife. Do that to my daughter. Do that to someone in my family. I will wait till your Sunday service when everyone's listening to you. I will wait till you start reading from the Bible. That's where you'll be handled. I bet you the whole Liberia will think about doing that the next time they want to do it. That was so disgusting to watch. Anyway.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. So, guys, we'll call it a day. All right. I'll call it a day. Thank you so much, Peter. Everyone who stayed with us, Ezekiel, all of you, I want to say thank you for hanging out with us on Saturday. Late, staying a little late. All right. I'm going to play this, get to the restroom, and then get ready to leave. All right. This is it. For days.
Oldest republic in Africa. And yet, we're one of the least developed countries on the continent, and indeed one of the least developed countries in the world. And I say to you, my fellow Liberians, we deserve a better Liberia. We need to ask ourselves some fundamental questions. Why are we where we are? Most Liberian homes don't have electricity. Most Liberian homes don't have running water. Most Liberians are unemployed. These are things we can change. These are things we should demand of ourselves and of our leaders. We, as Liberians, cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. We cannot keep electing and selecting the same kinds of leaders with the same kinds of experiences and expect Liberia to change. We have to do many things differently. And that starts with selecting and electing new leaders who know how to create jobs, who know how to grow the economy, who will prioritize the Liberian people first before they prioritize themselves. And this is what I offer you, the Liberian people. The other universal truth that I want to share with you, my fellow Liberians, is the best predictor of future performance and future behavior is past performance and past behavior. And again, I ask you to look at my record of job creation, of success, of managing large budgets without one penny going missing. All of these things you can look at and compare to the other candidates. And again, you will see that my past performance and past behavior is a good predictor, a good indicator that what I commit to, we will deliver. There are 5 priorities we have, and we call that the what's. And then there are 5 things we call the how we'll do it. And those priorities are as follows. Our first priority is infrastructure. Simply put, it's electricity, it's roads, it's water, and it's internet and cell phone connectivity across Liberia. We have to invest in infrastructure. That is the top priority. That's the basis on which we can and will do everything else. The second priority for us is job creation. There are too many unemployed, underemployed, and unemployable Liberians. The unemployment rate is over 85%. And therefore, job creation is our next priority, creating jobs for the Liberian people. The next priority is agriculture. We are a country that do not feed ourselves. These are things we can do for ourselves. We should be producing rice to feed ourselves. And my commitment is that by the end of my first term in office, we will be self-sufficient in rice production. And within education, we are focused on vocational training, teachers training, and adult education. But we have to educate our young people because, again, that's how we can help them create jobs. That's how we can train farmers. And so these things are all linked together. And our final priority in terms of the what's is health. Because you can have good infrastructure, you can have a good job, you can feed yourself, you can have great education, but if you don't have your health, it doesn't matter. And so health is our fifth priority. And there we're focused on primary health care and preventive health care. So those are the what's we'll do for our people, for the Liberian people. How are we going to do these things? The first how is we want to engage Liberians differently in the transformation of our country. We call this hearts and minds. How do we get all Liberians to participate in the changes that are required? We're going to use arts and